Alrighty. Hello, everybody. We will get started. It is 2:30 on the dot. So first and foremost, thank you so much for everybody for being here and for attending our lovely summit. And thank you very much to Angela, who will be our presenter. I will introduce her in a moment. I just want to do a couple little housekeeping things that I do at the beginning of every session. So if everybody would like to introduce themselves, how you can do that, there's a little icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. If you click on that, it'll pop over to the right and you can just type in maybe where you're from. So Angela, our speaker. So everybody's, from Milton. And I like doing this because we have people who are watching from different places. Anyways, outside of Canada, which is pretty cool. So I encourage you guys to ask some questions, but preferably, I think wait until the end. Angela, I don't know if you want to come off of mute, maybe are you cool with them? Do you want questions as we go along or do you want them saved up for the end?
You know what? Let's have them type them in the chat bar and I will answer them if I see them and they're appropriate. And if not, I'll get them all at the end.
Okay, cool. That works. And I usually manage the chat too. So if you prefer that, I make it a little bit easier. So we'll kind of do that if you don't.
Please do.
Okay. Awesome. So if it's appropriate, I'll kind of interject. If not, we'll hold them off. Works awesome. So if everybody could just keep themselves on mute, you're welcome to have your video on. I'm assuming, Angela, it's kind of up to the speaker's preference. Lots of people like to have the video of their attendees on. So it's like I'm talking to someone other than Tamaya. So if you want to keep your videos on, go ahead, but we ask that you keep the mute on just so that Angela has the full kind of speaker and volume. And what else do I want to say? I have my little list that I checked down just to make sure. And I think that's it. So basically sit back, relax, enjoy the session and take it all in. So this is Dr. Angela Martin King, and she is going to be talking to you about bridging the gap, the science and spiritual truth behind healing. So take it away. And thank you so much for being a speaker too, Angela.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, guys, how many of you have ever felt like you needed more tools in your toolbox for helping yourself get healthy? I know right now this is probably very important for all of us to be able to connect with our own ability to heal. And how many of you have ever wondered to yourself, is there more that I can be doing, especially while I'm sitting here in my house, to help myself stay healthy, enhance my immunity? How many of you wondered that? Yeah. And our vision of the future, our vision of the future of who we're going to be as a community and as a country and as people of the world, our vision absolutely depends on us being healthy right now, doesn't it? Yeah. So I want to welcome you today. We're going to be talking about bridging the gap between and the science and spiritual truths about healing. So as we get started, I'm just going to bring up a share screen for you because I know how many of you absolutely love to have visuals. And feel free, everyone, to take notes. All right, can we see that all right? Awesome. So as you guys probably know, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, Tammy, my name is Dr. Angela Martin King. I am a doctor of chiropractic, and for the past officially 6 years, but officially all my life as well, I have been on the mission to figuring out how the spiritual and the science connects and how that plays a role in healing, because the truth is I'm a healer at heart. And so today I'm going to share with you some of the fundamental truths that I've learned over the years so that you can tap into their ability to help you on a whole body level. Please type in the chat. I know Tate's going to be watching them for us today. So let's start. I bet you already knew this, that the mind and the body and the soul are connected. And for hundreds and hundreds of years, Western medicine has actually looked at the mind-body as two different things. And it's been to the point where saying something is all in your head. I'm sure some of you have experienced that or had other family members or loved ones experience that maybe in a medical setting or a healthcare setting where the professional that was working with them at the time had no real ability to explain what was going on. And that's part of my story too. And so what happens is this implies that what's in our head is an imaginary. And the truth is that what's in your head actually is part of the problem or part of the issue that you need to heal. And so some of the MDs out there, some of the doctors, some of the higher spiritual level trained professionals out there are starting to come out of the woodwork and explain the connection between science and spirituality. And they found that changing the activity of the mind actually can alter the way the basic genetic instructions are implanted. I know that sounds kind of confusing, doesn't it? But I'm going to break it down and give you the basic level of understanding of how the science and spirituality is connected and what that actually means for you on your level of healing. So before we get there, of course, I better introduce myself, maybe tell you a little bit of my story. Is that okay? I'm just going to take a look at you guys. There you are. Lovely. I see your faces. And if you want, go ahead and put your faces on there. I love watching faces. So I obviously didn't start my life as a Cheryl and I were at the park with our mom playing on the monkey bars. And of course we were doing, I think we were probably 4.5, 5 years old. And my mom was teaching us to hang upside down by our knees. Do you guys remember doing stuff like that? And while my mom was holding me up, Cheryl was hanging by her knees behind her. So mom had turned her back to Cheryl. And in that moment, Cheryl lost her grip and she fell onto the ground. I hope she doesn't mind me telling this story because it's a story of when I first decided to become a healer. And she fell on the ground and she landed on the back of her neck. And lo and behold, we took her to the emergency room. We did all the things that we needed to do. But in that moment, while Cheryl was laying on the ground and I'm hanging in the air, all I could think of is, how do I help her? How do I help her? And I had no idea. I was 5 years old. I had no idea how to help her. And so that started off my questioning of starting to heal. Now, Cheryl went to see a chiropractor, by the way. So it kind of became my first experience of how to help people heal. But that question plagued me throughout my whole young life on how I could help people heal, or animals, let's be truthful, how we could help each other heal, and in a way that didn't involve the medical system. And so the truth is, the science and spiritual systems are actually based, when you put them together, on a holistic system of healing. Now, holistic refers to the whole body, doesn't it? And the body, the way that science does it right now, is segregated into parts. And so we have two different levels and two different mindsets of healing. We have the holistic side, which puts together the whole pieces, the mind, the body, and the soul. And then we have the allopathic system, which is all about the body, segmental organ systems, and different modalities of doing things. You've got your cardiac professionals, you've got your vision professionals, you've got your internalists and all of that. And so we have two fields of looking at how the body works, how disease is created, and how we heal. And so Eastern medicine has always been focused on the whole body, the holistic approach, which takes into consideration that whole body person. It's considering the mind, body, and soul, or spirit. And it does emphasize the importance of the whole and how they work together, the interdependence of how they are working together for themselves. Now, the allopathic system works on parts. Now, who would agree that we're not allopathic, that our minds and our souls play an important role in our health? I think we're all feeling that right now. There's so many different pieces of us that are in that play of how we're keeping ourselves healthy and aligned with who we are in this crisis system, in this COVID system right now. And so when all of our parts are working together, we are whole. And there's a lot of holistic practitioners out there. Chiropractors, many of them, work on a holistic system. Not all of them, let's be truth be told. Other holistic practitioners are naturopaths. We have Chinese medicine doctors, and you probably have met some medical doctors who actually play in that holistic system. I'm lucky enough to be one of those people that found a doctor like that. The problem is when there's a discrepancy between any one of these parts, what happens is we become misaligned or incongruent within our entire self. So you could have a problem with your body. Maybe you have cancer. Maybe you have a heart problem. You could have a problem with your mind, and that could be an emotional or a mental thought system that wasn't aligned with who you are or your whole body health. Or you could have a soul problem. It could be a problem about your existence or your, logically right now, your fear of the future and your life. So holistic health is about integrating all those needs of us, the body and the soul. It's not about the sum of the parts, but actually about treating us as a whole being. So on the mind sense, what's included? It's our mental aspect. So our thoughts and our beliefs, our expectations and our conditions. What's going on? How is your brain working? And is it aligned with who you are and how you encode your healthiest self? And in your body, that can be considered your emotional thoughts, your emotional feelings, of course, your physical health, and all of the internal workings of your body. And on the soul sense, it's your spiritual sense and your conscious connections with reality. So I want to apologize to you all right now, because this is a very, very deep topic, and I could actually speak to you about it for hours and hours on end. But I just wanted to give you a taste of what it's all about so that you can start to explore your whole body health and your whole body immunity in this most important time. So we've already reviewed this, but you probably already know some of this stuff. We know we're made of mind, body, and soul. And if you wanted to name these parts, we already started talking about it. The conscious mind is about you thinking. It's your thinking self and your awareness. It's about the thoughts that you definitely know you have. So who's had some unhealthy thoughts this week? Yeah. Thank you. Play along, guys. Play along. And then you have your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind, some of you may know it as the subconscious mind, is the part of you that's underlying all of that. It's your underlying processes. It's your emotions, your beliefs, your memories, your body. We may know it as the subconscious mind. How many of you knew that you had an unconscious mind? So your unconscious mind is actually 90% of who you are. The conscious mind, the part that walks around all day, every day, thinking about that list that you made and all the things that you have to get done. And these are the thoughts that are completely aware in your head. Your conscious mind is only 10% of you. Most of you is your unconscious mind. And these are the parts of you that actually control your life. Your unconscious mind is the place inside of you, you can imagine, where all of your emotions have been stored and encoded, where all of your beliefs are stored and encoded, where every single memory, every single experience, every thought you've ever had, every word ever spoken to you, every experience, every emotion you've ever had is actually encoded in your unconscious mind. And it's also encoded in your body at a cellular level called cellular memory. Who here's heard of cellular memory? We'll talk about that a little bit later. And so your unconscious mind, by the way, remembers everything. So my body has a memory, and Cheryl's body has a memory of that experience that we had when we were 5 years old. And because of that first experience that I had at that time, my body encoded two things. It encoded that deep need to help other people heal, and it encoded a deep fear of what happens when people I love or when I am hurt. Okay? And what happened as I grew up, those emotions, those beliefs, they stayed inside of me. And they eventually created dis-ease. And so as an adult, I developed the ability to injure myself. You know, this sounds wild and wacky, guys. I developed the ability to injure myself because of these beliefs whenever I was misaligned with the mission that I was on. So fast forward to 2014 as a chiropractor, I was going through a terrible experience in my practice, and my body needed to take me out of my career. And the only way my body knew how to take me out of a career was connected to those beliefs. Those beliefs, those memories, and the emotions of what happens when I'm not aligned are not congruent with what's happening in my life. And so I ended up flipping over my table. I know it sounds scary, but I flipped over my table and I crushed 2 discs in my neck and all the nerves down my right arm. Now, if you know anything about science and about nerve recovery and neurological repair, that injury in itself would take at least 1.5 years to heal. And 1.5 years to heal on the physical sense, if it ever did. In fact, that recovery was probably not even, if we look at the science of how neurons recover from injuries like that, the recovery rate is probably less than 75%. And so in that moment, I needed to do something to help myself. This is how I got aligned with mind, body, soul connection and healing. Now, I know some of you are also wondering, what's this deal about the higher self and why are there arrows on the picture? Well, your higher self, or what we might call our soul, is about the greater consciousness. It's about who you are when you're not in a body. It's about your spirit, your divine connection to the universe and to all of the other human beings on the planet. And who here has been feeling that connection lately, right? Maybe not good, maybe not bad, maybe both, but we have that higher ability to connect, don't we? And so here's the thing. All of these pieces of our mind, body, and soul are not connected directly. They're not able to communicate with each other in the way that is most straightforward. And so your conscious mind, your thinking mind, and your unconscious mind can connect to each other directly. Okay? I'm putting pieces together for you. Stay with me. They can connect with each other directly. And in fact, they can communicate with each other directly. And so your mind and body actually have a connection. And so right now, yes, your mind and body have a connection. So everything that you're thinking can be translated into emotions and your body can experience them. And it can go the other way, can it? Now, your higher self cannot connect with your conscious mind. Your higher self has to take a route through your unconscious mind to be able to connect with your conscious mind. And your conscious mind has to take a route through your unconscious mind to connect to your higher self. So the problem is, here's the problem. What if you have stuff in your unconscious mind, like emotions or beliefs or memories or experiences or right now, fear and wondering about what's going to happen in our future? If that stuff doesn't align with who you are, it creates a block to reaching to your higher self. It creates a block to connecting to your spiritual ability, which is how we heal. Everybody with me so far? Let me take a quick look at the chat. Good. Okay, no questions. Perfect. It is a deep topic. So anybody of you wants to connect with me after and like go deep on this, believe me, I love teaching this stuff. So how do we communicate within all of ourselves? Here's the connection between the spiritual side of us and the science side of us. It really is the most easiest explanation ever. It's energy. Energy is our communication system, and energy is our healing system. And so we can communicate between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind and the higher self through energy. So for those of you that have done spiritual learnings or part of the spiritual community, you're interested in that absolutely wild, wonderful stuff, you already know part of this. But did you know that the body heals through energy too? And right now, what are we all lacking? Energy, because we've been spending our energy on things that doesn't generate energy. We've been worried about our future. We've been worried about our health. We've been worried about our loved ones. And all of that is valid. I want you to remember that this is valid for you right now. It's absolutely valid for you to be in that state where you're worrying about others. Let's talk about what that means for your health. So we could divide the unconscious mind a little bit deeper into what we call parts or the bodies. Who here has ever heard of the 4 bodies? Okay, if you're a spiritual practice person, you may have learned some of this. So we have 4 bodies. We call them the spiritual body, which we already know is the higher self. We have the mental body, which we can equivalate to where we have our thoughts and our beliefs. We have the emotional body, which is your emotions and your experiences. And then, of course, we have our physical body, our actual physical body, where we have the processes and where we, as allopathic trained country, believe healing comes from. And it does not. It does not come from the physical body. Here's the cool thing. Communication between the bodies is quite direct. And energy communication flows in a circle between them all. So it flows down from the spiritual through the mental, through the those of you that make channel, or those of you that create ideas out of nothing. Manifestation is the practice of pulling energy or communication down through the spiritual, through the mental, through the emotional, and the physical bodies to become reality on the earth. Now, healing goes the other way. Healing is physical, real life energy that we put inside of ourselves, and we funnel it up through our emotional bodies, through our mental bodies, and all the way up to our spiritual body. And that's how we heal. And no one's ever taught you that. No one's ever taught you that there are missing pieces to the healing that we do as allopathic, through our allopathic channels. And in fact, healing the physical body and what's going on inside of us definitely requires healing the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual bodies as well. This is why 99% of us never fully recover from whatever we've experienced. Whether it's a physical trauma, an emotional trauma, a mental trauma, or a spiritual trauma, the only way you can heal the whole thing is if you address all of the bodies. The problem is, if you have a block or if you have an injury to any one of those bodies, energy cannot flow up properly or down properly. Okay? By the way, it usually doesn't get blocked completely. Does that make sense so far? Confusion is a really high functioning mental state. So let's go a little deeper. So health and wholeness require connection. It requires connection between all of the bodies. And disconnection actually occurs when thoughts, emotions, beliefs, which are actually filters in your mindset, are negative or not being addressed. Okay? And when I say not being addressed, it doesn't mean that you are refusing to address them. Sometimes our unconscious mind buries things inside of us that were too hot to handle at the moment. So, who would agree that when I watched my twin sister, who's like my best friend, then 4-year-old. And so in that moment, my unconscious mind took that experience and shoved it way deep and down. And I really didn't remember it until Cheryl brought it up in our 20s. And in fact, I didn't remember, I knew that we would be seeing the chiropractor since we were very little, but I didn't remember why. I just thought that that guy was cool and that he had really big hands. And so some of the things are not being addressed because they're out of our conscious awareness. Regardless if you know what's happening or not, it creates a disconnection between the mind and the body. And so when we have a disconnection between the mind and the body, healing isn't possible because energy cannot flow up. The other thing that you do need to be aware of is that neither is bringing down divine knowledge. So addressing the mind-body connection is really important if you're doing idea, creative, and divine spiritual work. And so messages that go through at any point when we've got the disconnection, they really don't become, they don't get passed all the way, and they become tainted, or they become parts of messages. By the way, the World Health Organization defines state health as this: health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So even the World Health Organization agrees with this. And what I find there is a gap is that there are very few practitioners out there that understand the wholeness of it. And so they choose to sit on the fence of science or spiritual, not realizing that connecting those two things together and in connecting the mind, body, and spirit, that they can actually help their clients or their patients heal themselves. And I'm so glad I get to tell you guys this. So when we have disconnection, we actually have incongruency. Incongruency simply means you're not aligned. Those things don't all line up. They're not in agreement with each other. And when our bodies or our mind-body connection is incongruent, we become focused on parts, and then the miscommunication that runs through them result in dis-ease. Dis-ease being the uncomfortable part of being incongruent in yourself. And it's never just physical, is it? How many of you have been through a disease situation, has had somebody you loved for a disease situation in which there were mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects that needed work? And here's the cool thing. Some people just get this intuitively. My father, when he was going through cancer, knew intuitively that he was to work on his mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects as well as his physical. Now, I don't know how he learned this. Maybe it was being a lifelong chiropractic patient. I don't know. But some people naturally get that. It's an innate part of them. They know it from the inside out. However, most of us that know this on the inside are we're fighting with the outside world and what the outside world is telling us. So instead of treating the symptoms of the disease, someone like me, we go directly to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is not the physical body usually. Okay, unless of course you've been through an injury. Like I was through an injury, I needed to deal with the physical problem, but at the same time, we go to the root of why it was created in the first place and of why there was incongruency or disconnection between my mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical states. So we go to the root of it, which usually is your mental and emotional bodies. So connecting everything is everything. And whether you call it mind-body healing or functional medicine, or the really cool term, and there is a term for this, guys, it's called psychoneuroimmunology, or PNI, we're still talking about the same thing. So whether it's an allopathic really long name, or medical really long name, or if it's whatever we call it ourselves, the interconnection and interdependency of the mental spiritual systems for health, healing, and ultimate wholeness. That's what we need. And anything less is disease. So, who's ready to get a little bit of sciencey? Okay, so if you're a geek, if you're science and a nerdy geek like me, you'll love some of this, and go ahead and look up some of this information on the internet. You may need to order some books, but look up the names of the people that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to give you a few things, then we'll go a little bit deeper, but here's the thing. The history of mind-body medicine has actually been a little buried in science, in the discovery of science. And in fact, some of the best known leaders in mind-body medicine are out there. You probably already know their names, but you had no idea that that's what they were doing, because a lot of people look at them as spiritual leaders, when the truth is they have a lot of scientific background behind them. And their whole mission is proving the existence of the mind-body connection and how we can use it to help people heal. So obviously, I want to be on that level as well. So Eastern medicine, or what you might know as not allopathic medicine, in healing, they actually acknowledge the mind-body connection, and they have for thousands and thousands of years. But in Western medicine and science, when science and spirituality split, and by the way, when they did split, it was simply the experience of separating state from the spiritual practices. Is when the church split from the state, and so as a result, the scientific part of the state and the spiritual part of the church, they became separate. And so for thousands of years, everybody knew this, and for some reason, we've let it go. And there's been a lot of scientific professionals out there that do experiments and that have been discovering some amazing things. Perhaps you've heard of Candace Pert, who in the 1980s discovered the connection between how the body uses neurotransmitters, I will explain what they are, and neuropeptides to transmit information. So this is deep science, guys. This is how the body sends energy through itself and sends communication. And so Candace Pert was the first one, and she discovered a link between science and the emotional body. And then along came, just a few years later, Deepak Chopra, and he published this book called Quantum Healing, and he established that these same brain chemicals that Candace Pert had experienced become evidence of our emotions and how our emotions are transmitted. And so he too locked in on neurotransmitters and how they were going around the body. So some of you've probably heard of some of these ones. Serotonin. It's the feel good and relaxed chemical. It's also the one that your body gets from turkey, which is why we all start to fall asleep after Thanksgiving. And then we have adrenaline, which is the fight or flight neurotransmitter, and it keeps us alert. You guys have probably been living on adrenaline for the last 2 weeks. Adrenaline pops up when you're in that fight or flight mode, and it's like the immediate response. And that also is a neurotransmitter that transmit emotions. And then we have cortisol, and cortisol is a stress hormone, and it's released under long-term stress or stress that's longer than a few minutes. And this is one of the hormones and neurotransmitters that's going up really high right now in our global population. And it has an emotional component to it. So let's go a little bit deeper into the science. So you can see on the screen here, we've got the neurotransmitters, and in between two axons, which is how energy or messages are sent through our body, this is your neurological system, there's a gap. So you've got two pieces, and there's a gap in the middle. And our body makes these transmitters, they're little chemical centers that go out of the gap, cross over the gap, and they hit receptors on the other side. And each transmitter is different. Each transmitter transmits a different signal. And so what they discovered, Candace Pert and some of the other professional scientists in this field discovered that each one of those transmitters was connected to an emotion. And think about it. Look at how many connections we have in the body. 10 to the 11th power of neurons in our body. Very, very cool, right? I want to connect the conscious and the unconscious mind with this. So thinking about how many connections we have in the body, that's your physical body, isn't it? It's your physical body, and your physical body is controlled by the unconscious mind. Now, your conscious mind, just so you know, has 40 nerve impulses a second that you're completely aware of. Your conscious mind is able to process 40 nerve impulses a second. Now, your unconscious mind, your body, actually has 40 million impulses per second going through you. 40 million. I was talking to someone earlier today, and they said, is that a percent? And I said, I'm not good at math, but that's way less than a percent. I don't even know what the math is on that. But if you have 40 million impulses per second running through your body, how do you control all of that? How do you know what any of that is about? It's very, very, very deep, isn't it? And so, a little bit. So Candace Pert, we talked about before, discovered there's actually hundreds of neurotransmitters that go around the body, and each of them is connected to different receptors or neurons, and it also initiates a chemical reaction in your body that creates emotion. So she called the neurotransmitters molecules of emotion. And so serotonin, we've called since then a happy chemical. Epinephrine or adrenaline becomes our stress chemical. And so it takes 7 seconds for those signals to flush all the way around your body from neuron to neuron, neurotransmitter crossing the gaps, 7 seconds to go all the way around the body. And in those seconds, your body produces an emotional feeling. So how many of you have experienced an emotional feeling that lasts longer than 7 seconds? I hope you all raised your hands. So when an emotional response lasts more than 7 seconds, That's when your thought process becomes aware of the emotional response. How many of you have had a thought process that generates a continued emotional response throughout the last week? Maybe it was anxiety. Maybe it was happiness. Maybe it was the emotional response of feeling sad because of what's going on in the world. And our emotions obviously last longer than 8 seconds. And this is how we bridge the gap between the emotional aspect of us and the mental aspect of us. Because our physical body produced a chemical that gave us an emotional response, and our emotional response spread through the body, and then our mind picked up on it, and it continued to loop, holding on to that emotional response. What if the emotional response and that holding of the thought that goes with it is not healthy for you? Here's the thing. Your unconscious mind is protecting you at all costs, and so is your body. And it represses those memories and emotions that are too hot to handle, like that experience I had of Cheryl being hurt. And those negative emotions and beliefs still will fire up chemicals, even though if they're unresolved, because they exist in your body. And in fact, your body becomes marinating in unresolved emotions and unresolved beliefs. And because you don't consciously know where those awful feelings are coming from, they create a cycle that ends up in disease. And this is where we bridge the gap between the spiritual body, the mental body, the emotional body, and our physical body state. Because all of that stuff that hasn't been resolved is how we do holistic healing. We go inside and we take care of the mental and emotional and spiritual things that you believe or that you've been holding on to that's creating dis-ease in your body. And wholeness practitioners tend to believe that most of the body's physical responses of dis-ease are the physical creation of what's going on in the other bodies, so that we can actually heal the whole. That's what happened when I flipped over the table. Your unconscious mind has been eavesdropping on you your entire life. It has been trying to process those negative emotions, but without that proper mind-body connection that's actually there for you, it cannot let those emotions go. It has not let go of those experiences. And so all of those keep circulating. All of these keep coming up in your unconscious processes, and they create disease. And what that happens is those experiences become decisions, and then they become beliefs related to how you live healthy or unhealthy lives. So remember, I was telling you about me flipping over the table. It was my unconscious mind's way of saying, hey, what's going on inside your chiropractic practice is not aligned with who you are. You are burnt out. You are hitting compassion fatigue. In fact, you stopped caring about the people that you're supposed to care for. And so, because I am a healer by nature, my unconscious mind said stop. And my unconscious mind knew the only way to make me stop was to take out the one thing I needed to practice my job, to be a chiropractor, was my right arm. So it flipped me over the table, and it caused an injury that was going to take me out with more than enough time and more than enough stuff behind it so that I would address my mental, my emotional, and my spiritual state. So I did. So how does this work in the real world? How does this work in your body? Now, this is not always true. By the way, I pulled this picture off the internet, but I figured it's true enough. It's what I've experienced in working with people. That certain emotions tend to create certain reactions in the body. They target certain organs or systems and create certain diseases. So some of you may have experienced things that go wrong with your heart. Well, wouldn't you agree that a heart problem could be created by a broken heart, or repressed grief, or sadness, or attachment to somebody who's no longer here? I've actually worked with quite a few people who have gallbladder issues. And if you think about even the word gall, gall is about like unresolved, livid anger, right? How does somebody have the gall to do that is the words that go with that. And so the picture I put together is that gallbladder has to do with repressed anger and rage. Myself, I've experienced multiple sclerosis. And multiple sclerosis has to do in my opinion, with unresolved anger as well, because it causes an inflammatory or fire response in the body. And so there can be different diseases that come out of all different kinds of states. However, when we look at the, my cat is saying hello. So when we look at the patterns that show up, they tend to fall into categories like this. So what's really going on? Your mental and emotional state are sending you a message through your physical body, which is the one part of your unconscious mind where you really don't have much control over it. My cat wants to leave. Scooter. So your cat, it's mine. So what it really is our minds influence all of the parts of our brain. And it influences everything we experience, not only our perception and how the world works, in how our brain works, our cognition, our thoughts and feelings, our relationships, everything is coming from the inside out. And along comes Deepak Chopra, who's a fantastic medical practitioner. And he describes this whole concept of quantum healing. It really is the healing of mind, body, and even though he doesn't say it on the cover, it's the healing of mind, body, soul. And his theory that the mind can create all of the types of disease in our body, but it can also correct them from the inside out. And it's about altering what we believe and what we feel and who we are, connecting to who we are at the core on the inside and allowing the body to let go of all that stuff that doesn't match up. It's about the mind influencing our own reality. And so he says, the mind and the body are like parallel universes. Anything that happens in the mental universe must leave tracks in the physical one. And he has proof. Here's your proof, and here's how everything connects. Remember at the beginning when I had the 4 bodies on the screen, and we talked about epigenetics. They're physical, and there was the word pain. Pain is not a message from your body. Pain is a message from your unconscious mind. Pain is the result of a broken connection between the mind-body connection. And so pain also stands for what you need to pay attention inwards now. Pain is actually a messenger. It's the one way the body says to you, hey, I've been trying to get your attention all along. For years, I've been trying to tell you that you're not in alignment. For years, I've been trying to tell you that your mental and emotional states are damaging us. And the body says, I've had enough. And pain was what happened to me. Pain was what happened when I flipped over the table. My body said enough is enough. Said, you need to heal your mind-body connection. And so when pain shows up in your body, a holistic practitioner does not worry about treating the pain. Of course, they're going to give you some band-aids for the physical body. But the holistic practitioner says, what is the meaning behind the pain? What is the message? What are you missing? So pain and emotionals and beliefs and mental thoughts, they're the domain of the unconscious mind. And dis-ease is the body's way of creating some more awareness about when those messages are not getting through, when they're getting bypassed or ignored. So I want you to ask yourself, where in yourself is there pain? Maybe you already know it's in your mental state or your emotional state, or it's in your physical state. Maybe you can ask yourself now, what is it inside your body that's speaking to you? What is the message? Rumi, and I'm sure you've heard of Rumi before, said that if you listen to your body when it whispers, you won't have to hear it scream. Pain is also inevitable. Suffering is a choice. And so I live my life, and I hope you start to live yours, with that experience of listening to what the pain is about and allowing yourself to get a deeper connection, a deeper awareness to where it's coming from and how you can start healing it. Pema Chodron said, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. And so I know you're wondering, because some of you know I'm a chiropractor, still a chiropractor. How did I heal my arm? Because what I experienced is 99.9% completely healed. In fact, I only have a little bit of weakness down, not even in my arm, around my torso, being able to do certain things with a certain nerve. And here's the secret. I addressed everything I possibly could on the spiritual, mental, and emotional path, and at the same time created that loving container of physical body support to help my physical body heal. So what comes next for you? What comes next for you? I know I just gave you a ton of wonderful information. I gave you, names that you can look up and how this might work for you in the next coming little bit, and how you can keep yourself healthy. Keep yourself healthy, mind, body, and soul as you go through this experience with COVID-19, and how can you help the people around you? It could be something deep and it could be something simple. But I always want to remain supportive of the people who come into my circle. So let's help each other in how you can take that next step. So number one, I want you to connect with me online. Okay, so if you know Cheryl, you can easily go into Cheryl's Facebook or her Instagram and find me through her. Or you can just look me up online. Angela Martin King is my Facebook name. And I believe on Insta, I am at Dr. Angela King. There's no Martin in there. Step two, you could go, and I did this for you guys, so this is really cool. I am a trainer of hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and in particular, love working with healthcare professionals on how to use this in their practice. And so I developed a series of recordings, and I want to give you guys one for free. I want to give you one for free. And I think the one that's most pertinent to you right now is called Healing Energy. And so if you go onto my website, soulfiresisters.ca, go under the shop tab, which is under more, go all the way down to the track named Healing Energy, and you can buy it for free. You can download it for free by using the code PEACE. Okay, so go ahead and load it for PEACE. And I want you to share it with other people as well. Go ahead and share the link with them. Please get them to download it themselves. Okay, and give them the code. Because the truth is, at this point, I want to make sure that the most people in the world that I can reach to have this ability to activate that healing energy inside, to activate their own inner healing ability, because you do have control over all of that. And then if you'd like, I want to invite you to connect with me for a mind-body session where you and I get to sit down. We'll do it on Zoom so I can see your beautiful face and actually find out what you need to personally do. Is there something that you can do to heal yourself? Is there another way I can help you? Do you need another resource? Because the truth is right now, we really can't even access most of our practitioners that we would. I know that my chiropractic clinic is closed, and I know most chiropractic, most any kind of hands-on therapy is closed, and you can only get in there if you're an emergency. And so I want to make sure that everybody has resources. So if you'd like to do that, just connect with me personally through one of my social medias, and I will be there for you. Okay. And lastly, go ahead and get that piece of paper out. It's really important because I could give you all the tips in the world. But the truth is, your healing, every one of us is different. Every one of us has a different path to activating our own inner healer and what we actually need. That's why there's so many different practitioners out there. For some people, it is chiropractic. Truth be told, while I was healing that injury with my neck and my arm, the one thing I didn't want was chiropractic because it tended to be too rough. I say tended because I am probably the gentlest chiropractor you've ever met. But I actually worked with osteopaths, athletic therapists, massage therapists, and acupuncture because all of them were gentler on my body and actually worked on the other tissues that needed to be more aligned. And so I want you to find out some things that'll help you. So we actually heal the unconscious mind. We can actually heal that mind-body connection. This is where science and spiritual come together by addressing those four bodies. And here's the cool thing. You don't have to do everything for all of them. When you start working on one of them, you start allowing healing to happen in all of them. It's about getting that energy to start flowing again. And so right now, while you're sitting at home with yourself, you can start working on your mental and emotional and spiritual state. And you can support your physical body as well, can't you? So taking a piece of paper, I want you to ask yourself, how will you heal your mind-body connection? How will you start connecting the spiritual side of you and the science, physical aspects of you? So go ahead and write down the 3 codes: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Remembering that 90% of this is unconscious, okay? And just the fact that you're sitting here today, becoming aware of it, allows you to address your conscious awareness of what's going on in you that's not ease. So in your physical state, I want you to write down one thing that will allow you to empower your physical healing throughout this time. Something physical, like going for a walk every day. It might be eating more vegetables. It might be physically, maybe it's yoga. By the way, yoga is more than just physical, right? It also allows mental, emotional, and spiritual connection. So yoga, Tai Chi, there's quite a few of those out there. What are you going to do for your mental state? Maybe you're going to start implanting really positive mindset. Or maybe you're going to do something like me. I used to override negative thoughts in my head by implanting a sound. What was the sound? Eh. I would do that sound in my head whenever I had a negative mental thought, because I couldn't continue allowing that thought to roll through my head. Plus, it made me laugh. What are you going to do for your emotional health? Maybe you actually need to write down your feelings. Maybe you need to sit down with your loved ones and say, hey, we're really highly emotional right now. And so we need a plan to be able to process the emotions and to connect deeper as a family. It might be having a end of day hash out that says, you know what, I felt like crap today and I was angry because, and this is how I'm going to deal with it. And what are you going to do for your spiritual state? What are you going to do to help your spiritual self? Maybe it's connecting with the earth. Maybe it's doing meditation. We've got great practitioners in here that do that kind of stuff. What are you going to do for yourself? So I want to thank you today. I'm going to go into your questions and please connect with me. Thank you for being here today. I hope I lit up your brain. I hope I lit up the neurons. I hope I helped you start creating that connection for yourself. I want to thank you. And I'm going to stop the share now.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Tamaya,
Angela.
did you see any questions? You're so welcome.
That was awesome. So yeah, there was a lot of like kind of agreements going along. So I think you basically, like, a couple people shared stuff as they were going. So I don't know if like we need to kind of recap those, but I think everyone was reading along, which was, because that's kind of, so let's go and ask if anybody has any questions. Then how about you type them in? There's one that just popped up. What is the session that you suggest? Oh yeah, so I put in the link to your page, but I didn't put in the link for the session.
Oh, that's okay. Honestly, what I love the most, everyone, is that you connect with me personally on it. So, I mean, you could go through the website. Truth be told, find me on Facebook or send me an Insta and just allow me to have a connection with you as a person. That's the most important thing. I am a chiropractor, and right now, the hardest thing about this, this being in houses and not going out, is that I really want to connect with the people that I work with. And so just send me a message that says, hey, I want to connect. Let's talk about this, and maybe you can help me. So I know that question was from Janet. So Janet, please just connect with me on Facebook or on Insta, or even through, if Cheryl or Tamaya wants to connect you with me, that's perfectly fine. And I would be honored to help you with whatever you're going through right now.
I think she was maybe asking too, because I think you referred to one specifically to use the code piece, or would that code work for all of them?
No, the code piece only works for that one healing energy.
The hypnosis one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you know what? I'm looking at it right now. So what I will do is just paste in that link for everybody.
Absolutely.
And then they at least know, okay, that's the one you use the piece code for. But otherwise, reach out to Angela. So if there's any other questions, while you guys come up with your other questions, I'm just going to do a little, first off, thank you so much, Angela. That was like, my brain was like, whoa, because I'm a very like high level. And then when I see the detail and I'm like, I can't even, like, I'm one of those people who is like blindly has faith and goes purely by my heart and my gut. So it's like, oh yeah, it's all that stuff that I feel and I think and I believe, but it actually has the science and the evidence behind it. So it was really cool.
I know. I have to tell you guys, it took me 20 years to figure this stuff out. And to be able to present it in such a simple way was I hope that I can help people understand that this is not something that you learn through chiropractic school or medical school or even spirituality, like, mystery schools. No one is out there saying it is this simple. And I think that I think that in the past, hundreds and thousands of years ago, everybody knew it was this simple.
Yeah.
But we're not taught that way anymore. And so 20 years it took me to figure this stuff out. And it blows my mind, because if I'd known this 20 years ago, I probably would have chose a different path of how to help people.
Yeah.
And, but of course, my story and my experience led me through that whole path of actually discovering it all for myself. And so my mission is to help people be able to learn how to start working on their own inner healing without having to spend 20 years figuring it out.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. I think it's Raina. I feel like, do I say Rena or Raina? Raina. Anyways, she says, going to implement your soundtrack for negative thoughts. Brilliant. Rena. Okay, Rena. And so, yeah, I'm just going to do a quick little plug. If anybody has any other questions, pop them in now, because we're going to wrap up. We're at almost an hour. So tune in tonight at 6:30, because it's going to be, so most of these sessions have not been like super interactive, but the one at 6:30 is with Monique, and it's the dance one. So it's interactive. She's also going to have like a little talk, but she runs her Sky Phoenix Studios, and that one's going to be very cool. I'm excited. And yeah, if you look like a moron, don't worry, so will I. So let's do this. And then tomorrow we have at 2:30 p.m. the guided meditation to empower you during these difficult times, and that's with Sonia Madden. And then tomorrow evening is Awaken to Your Soul's Purpose with Nizreen Mamafoda. So awesome, like everything, just register in the same place, and that would be fantastic. So Eric says, great presentation, Angela. As a student of this stuff myself, you explained it so well. Thank you. I agree. It was like, oh, it made so much sense, right? Awesome. All right. So I think that looks like it's everything there. All of Angela's information is at the top of the chat. So if you guys want to like copy and paste that, you can find her, come through me or Cheryl. We can all find each other easily. So thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Angela. That was awesome. And I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day. Even my brain is blown, says Cheryl. Very informative. Thank you, says Alana. So yeah, have a fantastic rest of the day, everyone. Bye.